I stared at the ceiling. What would it be like, I wondered, staring at a different ceiling? What would it be like in a different bed in a different room? There was a hard, painful lump in my throat that I couldn't swallow. Don't you even remember being in the hospital, dearie asked. He was trying to change the subject. I stared at the ceiling. What would it be like, I wondered, staring at a different ceiling? What would it be like in a different bed in a different room? There was a hard, painful lump in my throat that I couldn't swallow. Don't you even remember being in the hospital, dear? He asked. He was trying to change the subject. I shook my head. I don't remember. He kept asking for me and soda, sometimes for Mom and Dad, too, but mostly for soda. Something in his tone of voice made me look at him. Mostly for soda. Did I ask for dairy at all, or was he just saying that? Dairy. I didn't know quite what I wanted to say, but I had a sick feeling that maybe I hadn't called for him while I was delirious. Maybe I'd only wanted Soda Pop to be with me. What all had I said while I was sick? I couldn't remember. I didn't want to remember. Johnny left you his copy of Gone with the Wind, told the nurse he wanted you to have it. I looked at the paperback lying on the table. I didn't want to finish it. I'd never get past the part where Southern gentlemen go riding into sure death because they are gallant. Southern gentlemen with big black eyes and blue jeans and t-shirts. Southern gentlemen crumpling under street lights. Don't remember. Don't try to decide which one died gallant. Don't remember. Where's Soda? I asked, and then I could have kicked myself. Why can't you talk to Derry, you idiot? I said to myself. Why do you feel uncomfortable talking to Derry? Asleep, I hope. I thought he was going to go to sleep shaving this morning and cut his throat. I had to push him to bed, but he was out like a light in a second. Derry's hopes that Soda was asleep were immediately ruined because he came running in clad only in a pair of blue jeans. Hey, pony boy, he yelped and leapt for me, but Derry caught him. No rough stuff, little buddy. So Soda had to content himself with bouncing up and down on the bed and pounding on my shoulder. Gosh, but you were sick. You feel okay now? I'm okay, just a little hungry. I should think you would be, Derry said. You wouldn't eat anything most of the time you were sick. How'd you like some mushroom soup? I suddenly realized just how empty I was. Man, I'd like that just fine. I'll go make some. Soda Pop, take it easy with him, okay? Soda looked back at him indignantly. You'd think I was gonna challenge him to a track meet or something right off the bat. Oh no, I groaned. Track meet? I guess this just puts me out of every race. I won't be back in condition for the meets, and the coach was counting on me. Golly, there's always next year, Soda said. Soda never grasped the importance Jerry and I put on athletics, like he never understood why we went all out for studying. Don't sweat it about some track meet. Soda, I said suddenly, what all did I say while I was delirious? Oh, you thought you were in Rendricksville most of the time. Then you kept saying that Johnny didn't mean to kill that Soch. Hey, I didn't know you didn't like bologna. I went cold. I don't like it. I never liked it. Soda just looked at me. You used to eat it. That's why you wouldn't eat anything while you were sick. You kept saying you didn't like bologna, no matter what it was we were trying to get you to eat. I don't like it, I repeated. Soda, did I ask for dairy while I was sick? Yeah, sure, he said, looking at me strangely. You asked for him and me both, sometimes Mom and Dad, and for Johnny. Oh, I thought maybe I didn't ask for dairy. It was bugging me. Soda grinned. Well, you did, so don't worry. We stayed with you so much the doctor told us we were going to end up in the hospital ourselves if we didn't get some sleep, but we didn't get any anyway. I took a good look at him. He looked completely worn out. There were circles under his eyes, and he had a tense, tired look to him. Yet his dark eyes were still laughing and carefree and reckless. You look beat, I said frankly. I bet you ain't had over 3 hours sleep since Saturday night. He grinned, but didn't deny it. Scoot over. He crawled over me and flopped down before Derry came back in with the soup. We were both asleep. Chapter 11. I had to stay in bed a whole week after that. That bugged me. I'm not the kind that can lie around looking at the ceiling all the time. I read most of the time and drew pictures. One day I started flipping through one of Soda's old yearbooks and came across a picture that seemed vaguely familiar. Not even when I read the name Robert Sheldon did it hit me who it was. And then I finally realized it was Bob. I took a real good long look at it. The picture didn't look a whole lot like the Bob I remembered, but nobody ever looks a whole lot like his picture in a yearbook anyway. He'd been a sophomore that year. That would make him about 18 when he died. Yeah, he was good looking even then, with a grin that reminded me of Soda's. A kind of reckless grin. He'd been a handsome black-haired boy with dark eyes, maybe brown like Soda's, maybe dark blue like the shepherd's boys. He'd had black eyes, like Johnny. I'd never given Bob much thought. I hadn't had time to think. But that day I wondered about him. What was he like? I knew he liked to pick fights, had the usual social belief that living on the west side made you Mr. Super Tough, looked good in dark wine-colored sweaters, and was proud of his rings. But what about the Bob Sheldon that Cherry Valance knew? She was a smart girl. She didn't like him just because he was good-looking. Sweet and friendly, stands out from the crowd. That's what she'd said. A real person, the best buddy a guy ever had. Kept trying to make somebody stop him. Randy told me that. Did he have a kid brother who idolized him? Maybe a big brother who kept bugging him not to be so wild? His parents let him run wild because they loved him too much or too little. Did they hate us now? I hope they hated us, that they weren't full of that pity the victim of environment junk the social workers kept handing Curly Shepherd every time he got sent off to a reform school. I'd rather have anybody's hate than their pity. But then, maybe they understood, like Cherry Valance. I looked at Bob's picture and could begin to see the person we had killed. A reckless, hot-tempered boy, cocky and scared stiff at the same time. Ponyboy? Yeah? I didn't look up. I thought it was the doctor. He'd been coming over to see me almost every day, although he didn't do much except talk to me. There's a guy here to see you. Says he knows you. Something in Derry's voice made me look up, and his eyes were hard. His name's Randy. Yeah, I know him, I said. Want to see him? Yeah, I shrugged. Sure. Why not? A few guys from school had dropped by to see me. I have quite a few friends at school, even if I am younger than most of them and don't talk much. But that's what they are, school friends, not buddies. I had been glad to see him, but it bothered me because we live in kind of a lousy neighborhood and our house isn't real great. It's run down looking and everything, and the inside's kind of poor looking, too, even though for a bunch of boys we do a pretty good job of house cleaning. Most of my friends at school come from good homes. Not filthy rich like the Socs, but middle class anyway. It was a funny thing. It bugged me about my friends seeing our house, but I couldn't have cared less about what Randy thought. Hey, Ponyboy. Randy looked uncomfortable standing in the doorway. Hi, Randy, I said. Hey, have a seat if you can find one. Books were lying all over everything. He pushed a couple off a chair and sat down. How you feeling? Cherry told me your name was on the school bulletin. I'm okay. You really can't miss my name on any kind of bulletin. He still looked uncomfortable, although he tried to grin. Want a smoke? I offered him a weed, but he shook his head. No thanks. Pony, one reason I came here was to see if you were okay, but we got to see the judge tomorrow. Yeah, I said, lighting a cigarette. I know. Hey, holler if you see one of my brothers coming. I'll catch it for smoking in bed. My dad says for me to tell the truth and nobody can get hurt. He's kind of upset about all this. I mean, my dad's a good guy and everything. Better than most, and I kind of let him down, being mixed up in all this. I just looked at him. That was the dumbest remark I ever heard anyone make. He thought he was mixed up in this? He didn't kill anyone. He didn't get his head busted in a rumble. It wasn't his buddy that was shot down under a streetlight. Besides, what did he have to lose? His old man was rich. He could pay whatever fine there was for being drunk and picking a fight. I wouldn't mind getting fined, Randy said, but I feel lousy about the old man, and it's the first time I've felt anything in a long time. The only thing I'd felt in a long time was being scared stiff. I'd put off thinking about the judge and the hearing for as long as I could. Soda and Derry didn't like to talk about it either, so we were all silently counting off the days while I was sick, counting the days that we had left together. But with Randy sticking solidly to the subject, it was impossible to think about anything else. My cigarette started trembling. I guess your folks feel kind of awful about it, too. My parents are dead. I live here with just Derry and Soda, my brothers. I took a long drag of my cigarette. That's what's worrying me. If the judge decides Derry isn't a good guardian or something, I'm liable to get stuck in a home somewhere. That's the rotten part of this deal. Derry is a good guardian. He makes me study, knows where I am and who I'm with all the time. I mean, we don't get along so great sometimes, but he keeps me out of trouble, or did. My father didn't yell at me as much as he does. I didn't know that. Randy looked worried. He really did. Even, worried because some kid greaser was on his way to a foster home or something. That was real funny. I don't mean funny, but you know what I mean. Listen to me, Pony. You didn't do anything. It was your friend Johnny that had the knife. I had it. I stopped him. He was looking at me strangely. I had the knife. I killed Bob. Randy shook his head. I saw it. You were almost drowned. It was the black-headed guy that had the switchblade. Bob scared him into doing it. I saw it. I was bewildered. I killed him. I had a switchblade. I was scared they were going to beat me up. No, kid, it was your friend, the one who died in the hospital. Johnny is not dead. My voice was shaking. Johnny is not dead. Hey, Randy? Derry stuck his head in the door. I think you better go now. Sure, Randy said. He was still looking at me kind of funny. See you around, Pony. Don't ever say anything about Johnny, I heard Derry say in a low voice as they went out. He's still pretty racked up mentally and emotionally. Said he'd get over it if we gave him time. I swallowed hard and blinked. He was just like all the rest of the Socs, cold-blooded mean. Johnny didn't have anything to do with Bob's getting killed. Ponyboy Curtis, put out that cigarette. Okay, I put it out. I ain't gonna go to sleep smoking, Derry. If you make me stay in bed, there ain't anywhere else I can smoke. You're not gonna die if you don't get a smoke, but if that bed catches on fire, you will. You couldn't make it to the door through that mess. Well, golly, I can't pick it up, and Soda doesn't, so I guess that leaves you. He was giving me one of those looks. All right, I said. That don't leave you. Maybe Soda'll straighten it up a little. Maybe you can be a little neater, huh, little buddy? He'd never called me that before. Soda was the only one he ever called little buddy. Sure, I said. I'll be more careful.